Cymbidium orchids are hardy, easy to grow, beautiful colourful flowers. You can grow them in containers and you can grow them in the ground in some climates. Over time they'll develop to form a really good clump, and eventually you will need to divide them. Your pot of Cymbidium orchids mightn't be quite as crowded as this one. However, what we're going to do is to show you how you can take a pot of Cymbidiums like this, break them out of the pot and divide them into a number of new plants. We'll also show you how to repot them. The first thing we need to do is to get the orchids out of the pot. We're going to need to cut this pot right off because it's so crowded. So we'll do that and then we'll show you what to do next. We're going to start by cutting off the roots from the bottom of the pot because we're going to lose those anyway. So here we go. That's not going to hurt your orchids. Now we'll remove them from the pot. You're not really going to be able to untangle that root system, and you don't even need to try. What we're going to do is we're going to use a sharp spade and we're going to cut that plant into two parts. We're doing this on the ground because it's going to take a fair bit of pressure to get through this root system. That looked a bit vicious, but we've divided the plant into two. We'll deal with one half at a time. You can see that there are some old dead bulbs, and you'll also see that there are bulbs with lots of green foliage coming off them. We're going to look for the best of those and we're going to separate them out. As you divide your orchids up, you're going to find that they naturally come out in clumps. Some will have 3 or 4 bulbs on them, some will have 2, and some will come out as single ones. Whatever you do, try to keep them in groups of 2 or 3 if you can. It doesn't matter that much, but it will assist with flowering the next season. This is a larger clump. It's got some back bulbs on it, old dead ones. We're going to remove them. And there we go. We're left with a good clump. There's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 bulbs in there. And even though this was crowded, we've got 2 old flower stems. We told you, cymbidiums are a tough bulb. We'll trim that up. That's probably the largest size clump that we'd like to use. We'll take out that other back bulb in here. So from that half of our clump, we've got 4 sections that we're going to repot. We'll take a look at this one. You can see that it's had a flower spike from last year. We'll get rid of that. There's a few damaged roots which we'll trim up here. We're just removing the old and dead, dried or broken sections of the root system. Peel back a bit of that. Trim up some of this foliage. When you divide them up, you're always going to be left with a few single bulbs like this one. What you need to do is to trim it up. It probably won't flower in the first year, so expect that. So now we're ready to repot. One of the secrets with Cymbidium orchids, and in fact with most orchids, is that they do like to be growing in a contained area. They like a contained root system, if you like. So the smaller the pot, in some ways, the better for the growth. However, Cymbidium orchids are also tall growing, so they can get top heavy, especially when in flower. if you're going to have them sitting in a pot by themselves, you need something that's a little squat so that it doesn't fall over so easily. Something like this. We tend to grow our orchids in groups, so we're going to use something that's a little more upright, something like this or this. Both of those are actually a little bit smaller than the first pot we mentioned. Now we come to potting mixes, and we like to use a specialist orchid potting mix. This one here is specially formulated for Cymbidium orchids. You'll see that it's got lots of coarse material, but it's also got some fine material mixed in there as well. This is going to be excellent. It's going to provide great drainage for our new Cymbidium orchid division. So we've got our orchid, root system well down into the pot. We just take handfuls of this, fill up the pot, making sure that the few gaps as possible down the bottom there. We don't want any big air gaps. You'll find after a while that the orchid actually starts to support itself. You'll notice that we haven't divided the plant up into single bulbs. You'll find that they will flower more quickly, perhaps even the next season, if you divide them up into groups of 2 or 3. You don't need to be keeping any of the old back bulbs, the ones that don't have foliage in them. However, you can replant them if you want to. They can take 3 or 4 years to reflower. Here we have a back bulb, and it looks as though it's almost dead, but it's not. There's our back bulb planted. Again, we'll water that in with a liquid seaweed fertiliser. We'll place it in a part shaded position, and we don't really expect that one to flower for perhaps 3 to 4 years. It'll put on good foliage, but don't be too upset if you don't get flowers. What we need to do next is to water this in, and we'll use a liquid seaweed fertiliser. We'll put it in a shaded position, good light but not full sun, and with a little bit of luck, next winter we'll have beautiful new Cymbidium orchid flowers. So that's it for repotting your Cymbidium orchids. For more information on orchids and how to grow them, or general garden plants, including the veggie garden, or perhaps you might be interested in building your own water feature. For all of these things and more, subscribe to the YouTube channel and visit the website. Good luck with your gardening.